Hi everyone. In this video I want to show you how to use the Tapered gems script that comes with the library that I recently released, the Jewelry CAD library. Now if you don't have the library and you'd like to find out more about that, I'll leave links to the introduction video in the description. I'll also leave links to the library itself. And remember that there is a free version and a paid version, and the only difference between them is the number of gem models and materials. I'd much rather you try out the free version first, make sure that it works on your computer and does everything that you need it to, and then if you feel like you really need those other gem models and those other materials, go ahead and get the paid version. And you can definitely make tapered gems without this library. You can make them manually. And the purpose of the library is just to make it a little bit easier, but you don't have to have the library in order to make tapered gems. So I'm going to assume that you already downloaded and installed the library. And if you want to find the script, you can go to the library tab here and then click on the library. And then you can double click on the scripts folder and you'll see the tapered gems script right there. Now you can't drag it out onto Rhino or anything like that. You have to do this a little bit differently. So to use, this is a Grasshopper script and this is a Python script. To use a Grasshopper script, you have to open Grasshopper first. If you have Rhino 7, all you have to do is come to the standard tab, and I think the Grasshopper script, this button should be right here. I think in Rhino 6, I think it comes already as part of Rhino, but I think it might be in the tab that's new in V6. So here we have new in V7, but I think in version 6 there was a new in V6 tab, and I think that's where the Grasshopper button was. In version 5, if I remember correctly, you have to download and install Grasshopper as a separate plugin. Okay, and I don't remember how to do all that, but if you already have Grasshopper and you know how to run it on version 5, then you can follow along as well. Okay, so what you need to do is go ahead and start Grasshopper. It takes it a minute to load up. Apparently a good minute. If it's the first time that you have launched it, it does take a little bit of time the first time. After that, it stays in the background. Even after you close it, it's really still active in the background. So when you click on it, then it comes immediately up. Okay, so you're going to want to go to File, Open Document, and then you're going to want to navigate to your library wherever that is. So mine is in Drive D. And I'll scroll down and go to the WD Jewelry 5 library here. But you may have called yours something else. You don't have to call it what I called it. And then go to Scripts and then double click on Tapered Gems, okay? And that'll open it up for you. Now you're very likely, if you've not used Grasshopper before, you may get a bigger window, something like that, okay? I like to shape mine so that I see my inputs right here. So if you don't see them, kind of maneuver, you might have to zoom out. And this is where all of the inputs and outputs are. You can just zoom in on that. And then I like to squeeze the window down so that that is all that we're seeing. Okay, because we don't need any of the other stuff. And then you can drag it over to the side where it's out of the way. Okay. The first thing that you need to do once you get to this stage here is make sure that the library directory is correct here. All right. So to make sure that it's correct, what you can do is go to the File Explorer and then navigate to your library. So again, mine is in Drive D. I'll scroll down. Go ahead and double click on the library folder. And then up in the address bar, right click and click on Copy Address. Okay. Then go back to Rhino. Double click here where it says Library Directory. Double click in this area. And then it'll already be selected for you. Just hit Control V and it'll overwrite that. Now in my case it's the same because I already had it correct. But let's say that it said something else there. Okay, say it was like that, and that's going to make my script have errors, but you would just double click on it, select everything, and Control V. Okay. Okay, now to actually use this script, I like to go in the top viewport. That's where I like to start off at. Now, once you get everything set up and going, you can look in any viewport, but I like to start this off in the top viewport. Okay. You're going to want to draw a line. This is going to be the center line that the tapered gems go along. It can be anywhere. Okay, it doesn't have to be on the axis or anything like that. Preferably, you click, hold down Shift, and pull out to the left, and it goes from left to right. Okay, or I'm sorry, from right to left in this direction. You can make it go in the other direction as well. You can make it go in this direction, but you'll end up with a problem, and I'll show you how to fix that problem. But we're going to start off doing it this way. And this is a flaw in my script. It has to have the line going from right to left. All right, and if it doesn't, you have to flip the line, which you can just select and then type flip up here. But I'll show you that in a few minutes. So you draw your line, and then you want to copy the line. So select it and hit Control C and then Control V. And now what we want to do is move this line up. You can be precise moving the line up, or you can be imprecise. All right, we're going to start off being precise. So I want this to taper down, and this is half of our taper, right? So if I want my last gemstone to be about an 8.8 millimeters thick, we'll do it 1 millimeter thick to keep it simple. Then I need to go up 0.5 millimeters because I need to go up half of that. And you know what? I've made this line too long. I think we'll do this zoomed in already. So draw your straight line, Control C, Control V, turn on control points, and move this end up by 0.5, and we'll move this end up by 1. Okay, so over here we'll have a 2 millimeter gemstone, over here we'll have a 1 millimeter gemstone. Take this line and mirror it across to the other side. So click on mirror, and then click here and here on the center line, and that'll mirror it across. Okay, now we don't actually need this second line, but it is just nicer to look at with it. Okay, but we need the top line here, and so select it and then right click on top curve and click on set one curve. Then click on the middle curve, right click on center curve, and click on set one curve. You can see immediately it's put 3 gemstones in there, and you can add more if you want by increasing the count. It's got a 0.48 gap in there. Double click on that and change that to 0.2. Almost always you will be using a 0.2 millimeter gap. What you might want to do at this point is click on File and click on Save Document. Okay, that'll save that 0.2 millimeter gap in there so that next time you open it up, it'll already be at 0.2. You may want to change it sometimes, but typically you're going to want a 0.2 millimeter gap between the gemstones. Okay, this will also save the library directory for you. When you hit File, Save, that'll make sure that this is correct next time you open it. Okay. Okay, so we've got our gemstones on here, and this is, we drew our middle line going from left to right, or from right to left, so it all worked out fine, just like we were hoping. I'm going to hit Escape, or actually I'm not. Okay, I will close this out. We'll draw another line. This time I'll make it go in the wrong direction, but it'll be straight still. And we'll duplicate it, Control C, Control V, turn on control points. This time I'm just going to eyeball the taper, okay? And then we'll open Grasshopper back up, and we'll set this as our top curve, and this as our, now it's going from here to this middle curve, but we're going to set this as our center curve. And let's mirror this over to the other side. I forgot to do that. Okay, but you see that we set our top and center curve, but we're not seeing anything. So if that happens to you, that means you drew your line in the wrong direction, most likely. So select that center line and just go up to the command line and type flip. Okay, and that should bring them gemstones in for you. Okay, You can adjust your start point as well. So the start point, this is considered 0, this is considered 1, so you're adjusting from there to there. All right. And you can adjust the count, of course. Once you hit the end of the line, like the next gemstone is going to go past the line, it won't, even though you increase the count, it won't go past that, okay? And if you start here and then we move our start point back, you can see the gemstones fall off as we hit the end back there, okay? Unfortunately, you'll have to do your own prongs in here. I'm not good enough yet with this to figure out how to do the prongs. Maybe one day I'll figure that out. If I ever do, I'll make a new script so that you can add your prongs in as well. All right. Now, once you've got it going, you can look at it in any viewport that you want. Okay. Now, another thing that you can do is you can align by the girdles, which is what we've got like right now, or you can align by the tables. So you're typically going to align by the tables if you're going to do channel set diamonds. All right. So if the metal of the ring is going to be more or less level with the top of the diamonds, that's when you would align by table. If you're going to be setting by prongs, typically then you'll want to align by girdles. Okay, so in this case the gemstones will be sitting on top of the ring, and when you align by table, typically the gemstones will be embedded in the ring, and the tables will be level with the surface of the ring. Okay, and then once you have it set up like you want, you can go ahead and bake. So right click on gems, then click on bake, and then click OK. And then if you want your cutters, right click on cutters, click on bake, and click OK. And then you can close Grasshopper. I'm not sure why Rhino closed as well. It doesn't usually do that. And then if you need to, you can put the cutters on the cutter layer. Okay, Grasshopper doesn't let you assign layers, I don't think, so you'll have to put them on their own layers. But they come in as groups, so you just have to click on one gemstone. All right. So if you turn off the gemstones, you can see the cutters, or you can turn off the cutters and see see better the gemstones. Now I will open Grasshopper back up to show you one other thing that you can do, and that is you don't have to, these lines don't have to be straight. Remember, this is a mirrored image, so you don't have to mess with that line. When you open Grasshopper back up, it's already got the top curve and the center curve set up. Everything is already set up for you, okay? But you can rebuild this and turn on control points, okay? And you can pull these points up and down. Okay, don't pull them to the left or right, but just pull them up or down, okay? You can pull the ones in the middle left or right, but the ones on the end, you can pull them left or right, but you should probably only pull them up or down. And the gemstones will follow the taper, okay? So you don't have to only do just a standard taper. Also, I'm going to Control Z back until they are like that and undo the rebuild. You can also taper in the other direction. Okay. Now, unfortunately, you can't start in this over here and have your gemstones go that way. Your start point is always coming from this side. Okay, that's a problem in my script, and I do plan on fixing that fairly quickly. And also, I should have the ability to add Azure Cutters as well, which are these kind of columns. Basically, they'll make a hole go all the way through the ring, under, and it'll be smaller than the diamond. But I hope to release that fairly soon. It's kind of an updated version of this, where it doesn't matter which direction you draw the line. So that's a flaw in my script. So I'm going to make this where the line can go in either direction and it won't matter. And you can also make your start point go from either end as well. And you can have Azure Cutters. So those are things I plan to add fairly soon. Okay, but now prongs, it's going to be a while before I add prongs. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bake these. And we'll close Grasshopper, go into perspective mode here. I'll hit escape to turn off the edit points there. We'll put the gems on the gem layer and the cutters on the cutter layer. Okay, oops. I put the gems on the cutter layer. Okay, so now if we wanted to add prongs, I'll show you, how I might go about doing that. I don't know how well this is going to work out because I didn't practice this beforehand. So we'll see how this goes. So probably what I would do is turn off the gems, okay, and go into the front viewport. I think I would probably select these lines and let's put them on the working layer just to get them on a different layer, and then I'll turn that layer off as well. I'm going to come in here as close as zoom in as much as I can here. Hold down Shift. Yeah. And let's see if it will let me do this. Yes, okay. So I got those, and then we'll come in and get these two. I'm holding down a Shift and Control. Control Shift. I'm drawing a line from the front view here. I'm drawing a selection box. So I'm holding down Control Shift. Oops. Control Shift, and then I'm going to draw a selection box around the bottom girdle. Okay, and then I'm going to come up here under Curve Tools and click on Duplicate Edge. Okay, and then I'll do that with this one as well. So now I have the circles, okay, and I will turn the lines back on, and I'll turn the cutters off in this case. Okay, I'm going to come to each circle, and I will go in 0.15. So I usually overlap my prongs by 0.15, but maybe sometimes even 0.1. Okay, I'm going to draw a line connecting from quad to quad like this. And I'm going to turn the lines off again. And then I'm going to draw a line going, I'm going to hold down, snapping to the midpoint. I'm going to hit enter to redo the line command. Snap to that midpoint, hold shift and go straight up. I'll select that line, go to transform and copy, and I'll copy this from midpoint to midpoint. Okay, and then we'll turn these lines back on. So then we'll draw a circle. Maybe we'll just snap to the intersection here, and we'll try 1 millimeter diameter. Okay, and then we'll just pull this down, straight down, until it the edges touch these. Looks like we might not need to be perfectly centered, so we can play around with that as well. Okay, now if it's important that you stay within this red line, if that's important to you, then what we can do is scale it down a little bit. 1 millimeter was just a kind of starting place. Okay, so I hit it that time. You might have to scale it down more, scale it up. You know, you might have to just play around with that. Then I would just drag it over, tap the Alt key. You'll see a little plus sign by my mouse. That means that I'm making a copy. I would drag it over. Or you can go click on it and hit Control C, Control V. That's another way to get a copy. Some people have trouble working that, tapping the Alt key. hold down shift and scale it down a little bit. So I'm just trying to get, it's too small. I'm going to try and get the same amount of space. Okay, and then I'm just going to scale it up. So that's probably good right there. Do the same thing, duplicate it, bring it over, scale it down. Try and get the same amount of space between here, here, and here. If it looks like I'm going to mess up, I might zoom in and do it again before I actually. So that looks pretty good. It doesn't have to be 100% precise, okay? So for this last one, I might draw a line going from this quad to this quad and then hit tab, and finish that line out like this just to get that slant. And then I would select that circle and mirror it across like this. Okay. And then pull it down. So I want the bottom to be about here. So that looks about right. Okay. And you could do the same thing over here. So we'll just, I'll take curve, extend line, extend curve, and we'll just extend that out. And mirror this across to the other side like that. I think we'll extend this line too. Now this time I don't want to affect this top line here. I don't want to change it. So instead of using this command, I'll click on line and then click on extension, click here and then come out. So this will be a separate line, but it's going to go with that line, right? Same direction as it. So that looks about right. Okay, so we could get rid of all these guidelines now. If you want to. You can leave them there if you feel like you'll need them later. Remember, these inner lines are actually our guidelines as well. These are guidelines too, but I think I'll leave them there. Okay, and then bring the diamonds back. Go into the front viewport here. Okay, so then I would just drag these down until I'm sure that they're going to go into the metal of the ring. We'll turn on solid tools and go to extrude and just extrude them up. Something like that, okay? And then you want them to be round at the top. So if you want them perfectly round, you can use the sphere tool. Do a 2-point, go from turn off project, and go from quad to quad. And then let's go back to the front view. Let's see if we can just boolean those all together. And yes, okay. And then what you can do is just pull these down until this line is a little bit above the table there. So we can draw a line like this. Maybe this will work. Draw a line going from the center of the first diamond to the center of the last diamond, and just scale it down like that. And then let's just move it up just a little bit, something like that. And then we'll just pull these prongs down until they cross over right there. Okay. So, but now this is something that if you're the jeweler, you can just make these as tall as you want, you know, whatever makes sense to you. And if you work closely with a jeweler, get his opinion or her opinion on how tall to make the prongs in a case like this. Okay, so we'll select all of these and group them together, and then go to the top viewport, and we'll bring back our lines and we'll mirror them along the center line here. Okay, I'm going to hold down shift and just pull straight out like that. Okay, and then I'm going to hold down Control Shift G to ungroup them, and then Control G to group them all together. Okay. So there is tapered stones using the library, and also using the script from the library, and also using the and then I just made the prongs. So I thought it might be good for you to see me work on those prongs as well. All right, so that concludes that video. Now, like I said earlier, I do have some updates on this that's going to make it a little bit better. The tapered gems. It still doesn't put the prongs in, but it's going to be a little bit better, and it's going to let you have better cutters, because it'll be the cutters with the Azures if you want those. They'll be, you don't have to have them, but they'll be there for you if you want them. All right, that should be coming out pretty soon. When it does, I'll make a new video showing you how to use that. It's very similar to this, and I'll also update the library files over on cgtrader.com so that you guys can get access to those. Okay. All right, so that's it for this video. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope to see all of you in future videos.